Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cutting right through all that technical jargon to unpack the blueprint for autonomous operational design. If you've been struggling to integrate AI into your daily workflows without literally pulling your hair out, well, you are absolutely in the right place.
Actually, let's just start with a quote directly from our source material that completely flips the script on the current AI hype cycle. It says, building an effective AI agent is less about models and more about operational design. Just think about that for a second. It pulls the spotlight completely off the shiny new tech and points it right back at your actual business structure.
Okay, let's dive into this. The absolute biggest myth out there is that AI success requires hyper-sophisticated models. The reality, it depends entirely on your operations. You could deploy the smartest AI in the world, but if your operational design is just total chaos, that AI basically just becomes a faster way to make a mess. So to make this incredibly practical, we're breaking the source's 9-step framework into 3 digestible phases. We're going to cover 1, workflows over complex models, 2, phase 1, the groundwork, 3, phase 2, defining the role, 4, phase 3, trust and testing, and finally 5, the future of work. Let's kick things off with section 1, workflows over complex models, and the paradigm shift. The core philosophy here is actually really simple. You need to treat an AI agent exactly like a brand new human hire. I mean, you wouldn't bring a new employee into the office, give them a super vague job description, point them to a desk with no computer, and just expect them to thrive, right? Even though, let's be honest, we've all probably had a job kind of like that. The point is, your AI needs that exact same structural clarity to succeed. Which brings us right to section 2, phase 1, the groundwork, setting your AI up for success. Phase 1 boils down to 3 foundational steps. First, pick one boring job. Seriously, don't try to automate your whole company today. Start with a single, highly repetitive task, like, say, formatting invoice data, and focus solely on that. Second, map the steps, just like a standard operating procedure. And third, choose your infrastructure based on rock-solid reliability, not unnecessary complexity. And this brings up a golden rule from the text. If the workflow isn't clear to humans, there is absolutely no way it'll be clear to an agent. AI cannot magically untangle an undocumented, broken business process. It needs step-by-step clarity to actually function. Okay, moving right along to section 3, phase 2, defining the role, setting boundaries, and building intelligence. Next up, we have the boundary setting steps. First, you have to clearly specify the inputs, the outputs, and the exact tools the agent is allowed to access. Next, you give it a literal job description that outlines its constraints and expected behavior. Finally, and this is absolutely crucial, you add memory and context. This is what allows the agent to track its progress and pull from your organization's broader knowledge.
The source really hammers this home. Clarity is way more valuable than model sophistication. You absolutely must explicitly define your standard operating procedures. You have to clearly outline what goes in, meaning the inputs, what the agent actually does, the actions, the forks in the road, which are the decisions, and finally the actual outputs. This level of detail, totally non-negotiable.
Now, here is where the magic actually happens. Context. The source notes that context is exactly what turns basic automation into true intelligence. You see, basic automation just follows a rigid, blind script. But when you grant an agent memory and relevant knowledge, it becomes an intelligent partner that can adapt to nuance and context. All right, section 4, phase 3, trust and testing, covering governance and deployment. This phase really determines if your team is actually going to use the tool. Step 1, you've got to add guardrails and human review points for any high-risk decisions. Step 2, wrap the AI in a simple user interface. The source is crystal clear on this. If your team has to fight a clunky UI, adoption will just flatline. And finally, test it on real tasks and continuously evaluate the actual business impact. The source makes a razor-sharp distinction here. You absolutely do not want a blindfolded robot just running unchecked in the background. What you want is trustworthy AI, and getting there requires active governance, human checks, and honestly, just keeping a hand on the steering wheel. It's a collaboration, not an abdication. And that brings us to our final section, the future of work and AI's real role in your organization. Look, there is a lot of anxiety around AI out there, right? But the source terms frames it so beautifully. The future of AI isn't about replacing people. It's an empowering tool, built specifically to eliminate the mundane. By handing off that boring, repetitive work, your human teams are freed up to focus on high-level strategy. It elevates human work. It certainly doesn't erase it. I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought. The organizations that ultimately win with AI will not be the ones with the most models. They're going to be the ones with the best designed workflows. So as we all race to adopt AI, you have to ask yourself, will your organization get distracted by the endless hype surrounding new models? Or will you win by mastering the blueprint of your own operations?